What I'm showing you is how I'm doing this installation. This is not a how-to, it's only what I did. If you're not really familiar with propane fittings, and how to install them, seek qualified help. Now what I'm going to be using is some pipe sealer. This is a slow drying pipe dope. It's called pipe thread sealant. Getting the slow setting version is important because it gives you time to move things around if you need to. I have a 3/8 inch male pipe thread portion right here that goes to a 3/8 inch flare fitting. The flare fitting has a cone on the end. That's what provides the gas tight seal. Now on this side it's possible to have a leak, so what I'm going to do is put a little bit of this thread sealant onto those threads. Only apply sealant to the male pipe threads. Never apply it to the flare fitting. The furnace comes with a warning label that tells you to only use propane with this specific heater. Propane and natural gas are very different in the amount of BTUs they'll put out, and as a result you have different amounts of pressure and different amounts of flame that will come out of the burners. I hand tighten this fitting. Now that feels like it's tight enough. What I'm showing you is how I'm doing this installation. This is not a how-to, it's only what I did. If you're not really familiar with propane fittings, and how to install them, seek qualified help. Try not to get pipe sealant all over everything. Yeah, Irene, can I borrow you to help me?
Sure.
If you'll watch from the back and guide this into the...
To the right. Up.
Perfect. That's all there is to hanging this unit. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach the flexible hose and then connect the regulator. Now I have the fitting snugged down only by hand. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it with a wrench. Now that should be tight enough. What we're going to do a little later on is we're going to go ahead and leak test this using some soapy water. If you've never done a leak test, what will happen is if you spray the water around a fitting that's, say, on here, you spray, and if bubbles start coming out, you have a leak. Now, it's important, really critically important, that you don't have propane leaks. Because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want propane to gather and become something that can become explosive. So especially when you're in a place that's reasonably sealed like a greenhouse, you absolutely want to make sure there's no leaks. And definitely if you're installing something like this in your home, an office, a workshop, or any living space, you need to make sure it doesn't leak. Remember that when you're attaching a regulator, you go counterclockwise with the threads. I get a finger tight, and then snug it down with a wrench again. That feels tight enough. And I'll do a leak test after the unit is set for about an hour.
Do you have batteries in it?
There's battery in it.
Cool. I didn't know if we came with them or not.
Yeah, turns out there's one battery in this one.
Cool.
Well, I lied. It says it comes with a battery. There's no battery in it. All-purpose leak detector. This is just a few ounces, 2 ounces as a matter of fact. It's small, it's relatively inexpensive. This particular manufacturer turns their leak detector blue. There's others that are red. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what the color is as long as you can see bubbles when they happen. Now this is probably between $5 and $7 to buy that bottle of leak detector. I made this bottle of leak detector up with just ordinary tap water and some dishwashing detergent, like you use for washing dishes by hand. Don't use this stuff out of the automatic dishwasher. It doesn't bubble up. So I've had this bottle probably for, I don't know, 8 to 10 months, and I made about that much. We have about this much left. This was some tap water and a few cents worth of soap. It's easy to do, but choose whichever one works for you. What I've done is replace the regulator because I happen to have a spare one on hand. This is not as good a regulator as the other one. However, this POL, which is the propane connection that goes into the propane tank, is a better connection. It has an O-ring in it that seals it so that it doesn't leak. Now I need to go check at the bottom of the heater and see if that's leaking. And I don't see any leaks. Now, we also have this leak detector. Now this normally stays in Irene's studio because she has high pressure cylinders for propane and oxygen for her torch setup. So I'm going to use this. The advantage to this over just soap and water is this will kind of hang on the fittings. So I'm going to try squirting a little bit up there now. And I don't see any bubbles. So we'll try lighting the pilot again. Turn it to the pilot position, press the button down. You have to purge the air out of the line. This hose and regulator has been sitting on the shelf for several years, which means there's no propane in the line. So first you have to purge the hose, then you have to make sure you hold the button down for 30 seconds. What that does is that heats up a little thermal sensor. And that thermal sensor turns off all of the propane to the stove, to the heater, if there's a problem. So if the pilot light goes out, the heater doesn't work.
Okay. Hello, can you set the thing?
I can set it to 1 and we'll find out where that is.
Really? I have no idea.
All we have to do is come out and set the thermostat to the temperature that we want the greenhouse to remain overnight, and that should allow it to run.